Well, hello to everyone that's listening to this on the podcast or watching this on the YouTube channel. I hope you're doing well. And I'm delighted to be here today with Mark Brown. Now, Mark, I met years and years ago training, and I always thought Mark was a bit of a cool bloke, just very calm. And yeah, never seemed to be flustered by things, especially in the training room that we were training. And so I actually learned a lot from Mark in our training days. So we're here obviously to discuss the concepts of future proofing and how Mark has self-managed and managed his self-development through his career, what he's done, what's gone well, what hasn't gone well, what he's learnt along the way, what great advice he's been given, and what advice would he give it to people now. And as Mark will tell us the line of industry and the work that he does, what's he planning to do in the future to future-proof himself to obviously ensure that he stays relevant and value for the rest of his working career, whenever that may be. And at the rate we're all going, we might as well all retire now because we're obviously recording this in coronavirus lockdown. So, hello, Mark. How you doing?
Hi, David. I'm really well. Thank you very much. I never knew you thought all that of me. It's unbelievable. I wondered if you knew you had the right person. But no, that's really nice of you to say that.
Well, they will see your calmness through this and your ability to reflect and see things from a different perspective that quite often other people don't see. And I think that's very true with you, that you do have the ability to look at things through a different pair of glasses to most people. So just in a bit of a nutshell, how would you sort of describe a bit of an overview of your career to date? Not in total detail, because we could be here for a long time. But
I was going back to school then for a minute. I never dreamt that I'd be doing what I do now when I started out. I wanted to work for a bank. But at the time they were handing out the work experiences, I was off sick. I had glandular fever. I ended up working for a finance company in Enfield, which is where I grew up. And my career from there went a really, I think, a strange route to end up where I am now. But I stayed in finance, and then I went into sales. I started off working in collections, collecting money. And I went into sales, selling finance to retailers. And then I went into asset and automotive finance. And that's where I did a little bit of training all through that as well, a little thread of training. I got made redundant from a job, and then I phoned up the people that trained me because I quite like doing it.
yeah.
And I got a job in training full time. And it was great. And I couldn't believe it. I was doing this training thing, and I was earning quite a lot of money compared to what I was on.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. And I was home-based. I'd never been home-based before. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And then, you know, that role I had then, I'd probably still be there now if I got made redundant. And from there, I branched out on my own, doing my own thing, which I've kind of been doing since 1999.
Gosh, is it that long time ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2020. It's my 21-year anniversary this year, I think. It's frightening thinking about it.
About the same time we went then, wasn't it, David?
Yeah. So, what does self-development mean to you throughout your career and what you're currently doing? And perhaps could you give us an overview of what you are currently doing?
What, from my own personal development?
Yeah.
Yes, I think it means a lot because I work in the development industry, and I work with a lot of people who don't develop themselves. There's lots of trainers and coaches, facilitators out there that don't actually develop themselves. And for that reason, they're rolling out the same things they've been doing for 20 years. And some of them can get by with that, but a lot of them find it quite challenging. So I made myself kind of a challenge, I guess, was that I would do something fairly big every year. And I would do something that benefited me as a person and or my business. So I'm working with a trainer in the USA, and we meet at least once a week in a small group, and that goes on for a year. I've signed up for a 1-year program.
Wow.
Developing myself, personal development, and you know, I've got a few issues, I guess, that I'd like to sort out, and she's helping me do that. It's quite a slow process, but it's very deep what we do.
Yeah.
It's a very deep dive into each of us, and we share what we're experiencing and what we're finding out.
And
And some people,
how did you decide that you needed to do that?
I decided I needed to do it because I felt that my confidence level was quite low, that I lacked a bit of direction as to exactly what I should be doing, what I wanted to do, and what I was actually doing. So I realised there's a gap, but I couldn't, and I still, to some extent, I can't fill that gap. I don't know what's there, and that's what I'm discovering.
Yeah,
I'm discovering what it is that it sounds a bit flamboyant, but you know what it is I'm here for, what it is I'm driven to do. I'm getting closer to it.
Well, that purpose.
Yeah, what is my purpose? Yeah,
That definition of,
yeah.
well, I call it the definition of success. And a lot of people say, well, I want to, I was coaching someone the other day on Monday, and he kept saying to me, oh, I want to earn lots of money in the in financial services and all this, but he didn't want to get on the train to London. He didn't want to do the qualifications. He didn't want to do all the studying and the long hours. And I said, well, you know, what is your purpose? And actually, we had a good conversation. I think hopefully we've helped him find what his real purpose is, and it's something totally different to what he
really
first
good,
came up with.
Yeah.
And I've always said my definition of success is just to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
That's the only one I've ever really gone by. And yeah, you know, we could have all earned more money doing something else, whatever, but is that really always what it's all about?
Yeah,
So
and if you can enjoy yourself while you're doing it, you know, that is the thing. That's what you're there to do, I think.
Yeah.
If it's kind of fairly natural to you.
Yeah. As long as it's not of detriment to other people, your enjoyment,
right.
for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Get put away on this. So, so what do you wish you'd known at the start of your career?
One of the things I really wish I'd have known was I wish I'd have known what my talents were.
Yeah.
You know, what I'm naturally good at. I didn't really know. I hadn't really known that until quite recently. That we're all made up differently, and we've all got these things that are quite natural to us.
Yeah.
And if we can work out what they are, we can hone them.
Yeah.
And we can become even better at them. And then there'll be some things that I'm never going to be brilliant at.
Yeah.
And just accepting that. Because in the past, I think I've, maybe through getting advice and listening to other people, I think I've tried to fix my weaknesses, thinking that one day they'll be really great. But actually, they never will be, and they never have been. I remember when I started in the asset finance organisation, we used to have to do telephone prospecting.
Yeah.
And my manager gave me loads of hints and tips and sent me on a course. But I was never as good as the other two guys. Yeah. And probably to this day, I never will be.
Yeah.
But actually, there's some things that I did that were really good, but they were rarely mentioned.
Yeah. Okay. So it was working out, you know, what your strengths were and playing to your strengths, which I think we both do talk to other people about this now, especially the younger generation, you know, but what are you good at? What have you got the passion for?
Yeah.
Obviously people have got to pay money for it and have a need for your service and what you're offering. But I think that's always quite important, and it does take a lot of young adults quite a time to work out what they don't want to do as well as what they do want to do and what they're good at, because they don't necessarily get a lot of help in that at university or school.
I think that might be one of the reasons that people today tend to have. I mean, I'm not a good example of this either, but they tend to have a lot of jobs because actually they're taking on roles like my son my eldest son, when he left school, he went into quite a hard sales industry.
Yeah.
It wasn't right for him.
Yeah.
You know, and he left there. He had real hardship there. Really didn't like it, and he left, and then he went and did something else. And you know, gradually he's found something that he likes doing. So,
good. That's so important.
Him,
So important. So, what's the best piece of advice you've been given?
I reckon the best piece of advice I've been given When I started training full time, I got kind of mentored by a gentleman called Ian Brown,
I remember him.
and he accompanied me for a whole program that we were delivering regionally across the UK, and I think it was about 3 weeks or a month. When I started doing it in the past, when I'd done training, I had emulated the people that had trained me. So I had put myself in their shoes, kind of thing, and I did it in the way they did it, the way I saw them do it. And what Ian said to me, he said, you need to find your own style. And I think that was the best piece of advice, because I think if I hadn't have done that, I would have got kicked out of that job probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was trying to copy other people, and I wasn't as good at it as they were doing it their way.
I've got to laugh here now and just tell people that when I met you working for the certain company, we were doing training in the motor industry.
Yeah.
There was a couple of characters that I just did not know how they did what they did and got away with what they got away with. And I was still fairly new to training and whatever, and I just stood there and thought, my God, how do you do all that?
I know.
And yeah, it was, and yeah, how we managed to make a 2-day course a 5-day course.
What, are you saying I was one of those people? Yeah?
No, I'm just saying there was other people around us that
were, yeah.
just incredible. And yeah, I mean, some of the I don't know if we should mention names.
Probably not.
But there was some great characters, and you just stood there as just a co-facilitator with your mouth open, going, "Did they really just say that? I don't believe that." But okay, so that was good advice from him with regards to
I owe him quite a lot, I think, Ian.
Yeah,
I'm a lot, yeah.
But I think that's the case in a lot of life, isn't it? Sometimes we've just got to be ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think the best advice I ever got was about managing. Just be yourself with responsibility. And as long as you take responsibility for yourself, but put your own character to it, but you've got to take responsibility for it, and that was always important to me. So is there anything you wish you'd have done differently with hindsight?
Throughout my whole career, I can't really see that I would have done, really. I mean, I often think, like, when I started out, I could have gone and worked in the City of London.
Yeah.
My brother did that because my father, God rest his soul, he worked there. So I could have done that, but I don't really think I would have changed it. I don't think I would have done that. I would have liked that.
Which is nice.
The travel, the constantly going. And I've always said that I'd love to work in London at some time.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I haven't spent all my life there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would like to. So I don't think I would have changed too much, really. I mean, I'd have loved it if the place we worked at together had carried on longer.
Yeah.
I'd have loved that, but that wasn't in my control to do that. So I don't think I'd have changed much.
Yeah, but I mean, the trouble is with that company, it just wasn't, what we were doing just wasn't financially viable, and we were doing nothing half the time. It was just crazy.
Yourself.
Well, we didn't know, did we? I mean, towards the end of it, I mean, we had one colleague that what's the word? Used to buy very old cars, and his job over 2 years, he renovated 2 very old cars from more or less complete scrap. And we didn't do anything. And it was like, when all our jobs got put at risk, I know some people stayed on and some people went and did other things, but we just weren't really contributing any value to the business. It was all nice to have in lots of areas. They certainly didn't need the numbers that they had, and that taught me a lot of lessons about business, actually, and about managing people and making people responsible. But you're not contributing. This isn't actually generating enough money to keep us all going.
I think there was the added problem that what we did wasn't the core business either, wasn't it?
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. So what have you enjoyed most? What bits do you still perhaps do, or perhaps have done in the past, that you love the most?
I've liked being a pioneer in things, doing things first.
I like that.
I love that. I did a job with a customer when we were working at the same place. Might have been before you came, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was a program it was a demonstration, really, to put together a course to deliver training via satellite.
Wow.
They sent me on a course. So I spent a week in Oklahoma next to the university there. And then I came back and I developed a course, made video around a product. And then I demonstrated it live to various locations around Europe that were English speaking.
Yeah.
So I like that. I did like doing that. But I also worked probably.
And how many years ago was that?
That must have been 25,
Yeah.
24 years ago. That was.
And yeah, we just went back to the old traditional ways of doing it rather than perhaps developing that further.
Thing was, it was very expensive to buy satellite time.
Yeah.
The company that actually piloted it, who were a client of ours, they're into avionics, so their business was avionics. So actually, satellite time wasn't such an issue.
Yeah.
I think the reason they didn't roll it out in Europe was the language is different in every country, and you could do it in one country alone, but that works out very expensive per head. Now, they used it in the US, and Ford Motor Company had their own kind of channel, really. And each month they produced like a radio time, so you could see which course was on which day.
Oh, wow.
Some of the people became celebrities that were doing it.
Yeah.
So it was amazing what they did. So it worked really well there because...
So it was YouTube before YouTube started?
Exactly, yeah. But you could watch them live like you can on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like doing YouTube live.
Yeah, wow.
And they had a technical trainer.
Yeah.
And what he did was he'd go under the bonnet of a car and he'd have a head cam. So you could see exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
He'd be looking into the bonnet of the car. It was really, because I watched a couple when I was there. It's amazing. But I think what happened then was internet speed started to pick up. We came off of those modem things. Do you remember them? And we started to get quicker internet, which now leads us to doing things like this, David.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? Brilliant. Yeah. Good stuff. And what's been the most challenging part of your career?
Well, I think the last recession was really challenging for me.
As in 2008, 2009?
Yeah, that time was really challenging.
Yeah.
Because my customers I was working with at the time, I was quite low down the food chain.
Mm.
So I was the first one to be knocked out, if you like, when things got tightened.
Yeah.
And so I realised then that probably having some customers that I work directly with might help. It might help. And I also think a challenging time was when I started working in that asset finance job. That was challenging for me, coming from the environment I was into that, and having to do so much prospecting and knocking on people's doors on industrial estates and doing that and carrying that out. That was really challenging for me, and I got okay at it. I was okay when I got in to see people. So fortunately, we had a telesales team that would make appointments for us, and I made a few of my own, but I probably wasn't the best prospector or door knocker.
Yeah. So
I just used to feed the telesales person with the names of people to contact. But that was challenging because it was a wholly new thing, and it was working in an environment I'd not been in before that expected to hit the ground running, so to speak, and get results straight away. Yeah. So I think that was a challenging time for me personally, and I didn't know then what I know now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's that would have made life so much easier, wouldn't it?
You're right.
Yeah. And so perhaps knowing what you know now and applying it back. So for people starting out on their careers and, early 20s, perhaps late teenage years, what sort of advice would you give them, perhaps wanting to go into the same areas that you've worked in, or just work in general?
Well, if they're going into the same areas, because I've been asked this quite a few times over especially the recent years, and I've always suggested that rather than go out on your own and do it, go and work for a company that does training, go and work for a training organisation and get trained up.
Yeah.
Get maybe a training qualification.
Yes.
But get trained up, learn as much as you can, and then at such a point where you feel that you can branch out and do your own thing, go and do that. But
Yeah.
I also think that generally people, it would be a good idea if they did understand themselves, if they understood what, you know, where their talent is, where their strengths could be, and then try and find a job that fits you.
Yeah.
So rather than just going for the money, follow the money, go for the thing that is going to suit you. Because if you don't, it's really hard to settle.
Yeah.
It's really hard to focus on something
Yeah.
and enjoy yourself, like you said, David, you know, to
Yeah.
actually enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do it if you're doing something that's not a good fit.
Yeah.
I see so many people that have done a job because they like doing this or they like that and like that, but actually liking it, liking the fact that, like, I work a lot in automotive, because you like cars doesn't make you a good, you know, it doesn't make you a good salesperson. There's
Yeah.
loads of people who love cars.
Yeah.
So it's actually working out and finding out where your talent is and
So
what's natural.
how in your eyes, how do people work out what they're going to be good at? I mean, what
Do you mean what their
process?
talents are?
Yeah.
Well, I use a tool. It's funny you should say that. I use a tool called Gallup Strengths, and it's an online tool that you plug into. You answer some questions on there. It takes about 45, 50 minutes.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it produces a report and it tells you where your talents are. And it also tells you how you can hone those talents.
Yes.
And then from that, you get a bit of a flavour, I think, of not only what you should do, but how you should do it.
Yeah.
So you were talking before about your experiences when we worked together and some of the trainers and how they did it. Well, that might be the only way they can do it, because that's the way they're best at doing it.
Yeah.
It might not work very well in some cases, David, but, you know, and it's actually finding that way that you can do it, you know, something that's natural to you. There's usually quite a few ways that you can
Yeah.
skin a cat, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit like management and leadership.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of stuff written on the way you should manage and the way you should lead. Actually, if you do it authentically, whatever that looks like, it's the
Yeah.
best way for you to do it.
Yeah, no, I do agree. You've got to be you. So every time I know we've known each other for many years, but we only work in the same sort of business for a couple of years. But
Yeah,
I always smile because some of the things and some of the people just used to make me laugh so much. And yeah, some of our managers used to make me laugh a lot as well, which were they were great.
it was
And
entertaining, wasn't it?
it was very, very entertaining,
Yeah,
and some
yeah,
great characters, great characters. Perhaps we'll have to get everybody on and we can all sort of do a big love-in of what we learned from those days.
yeah. We
Um,
could do that. We could do
yeah,
it on Zoom.
yeah, well, why not? I think we'll
Yeah.
have to do it. Yeah, we'll have to go and sort of dig a few up maybe from some places, but we'll find them somehow.
I think it'll be a bit clicky though. I think it'll only be us that get it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's been brilliant with regards to what we've done at the past. But yeah, despite us having lots of years of experience and knowledge and whatever,
Yeah.
which is great, as I always say to people, what about the future? So for Mark, how do you see yourself continuing to develop and future-proof yourself to help keep your business going?
Well, I'm on my 1 year program for me. I'm doing that, and I'm looking to focus more on coaching now than training. So I'm looking to really work one-to-one with people, because
Yeah.
it's taken me a while, because I'm a bit slow. It's taken me a while to work out that that's what I'm going to be more attuned to, I think. And while I've
Yeah.
done training for years, there's some things that don't happen in training that I actually really want to happen, and I feel I need to happen. And I think I can only get that if I work with really, really small groups. I'm talking like maybe 2 or 3, or best of all, one-to-one.
Yeah. So
So
it's positioning your offering in a different way.
yeah, and maybe to a slightly different audience as well.
Well, that's always very interesting to think about. As we said, we're in coronavirus, and as I've said on previous videos, that what's happened and the way that we're going to come out and end up working has just been fast tracked of what was going to happen in the next 18 months to 2 years. Plus, also certain industries. We've talked about the motor industry. That are going to go through huge amounts of change. And yeah, they're going to have to adapt and and develop, because we're still going to have cars, okay, perhaps not so many, but it'll be in a different format. So we do need to diversify. And I quite often say to people that, okay, think about not only the business you're in, but think about the market you're in. What's that going to look like in the next sort of, well, we used to say 5 years and 10 years, but we're now down to sort of 2 months and 3 months, or perhaps weeks. It's how quick everything is just suddenly changing.
And the thing is, do we really know what it's going to look like? I guess we're guessing, aren't we?
Yeah.
You can surmise what certain things might transcend to. Transcend, is that the right word?
Yeah. And also, sort of talking to recruiters at the moment, and they're talking to lots of organisations and about how they feel that we may actually recruit in different ways. And so it is about being, open to those. So you transferring. Any other sort of particular skills that you feel that you want to continue to develop and hone?
Well, I think I want to further develop my coaching skills. I did a certification on coaching with Gallup.
Brilliant.
Which is really good, which means that I'm certified to use their tool. I also get on their website, so if someone's looking for an independent coach in my local area, I'll pop up on there.
Yes.
So I'd like to further develop my coach. I do a lot of reading. I read quite a lot. I use audio books quite a lot.
Yeah.
So when I was driving quite a few miles every Sunday, which I'm not at the moment, but when I was, I'd have an audio book on, not a business book. And then if I thought it was really good, I'll get a hard copy of it.
Yes. I still like having my books on my on my bookshelf, and sort of just having a little look and think what I need to delve back into.
Because sometimes you want to reference something and you can't find it in the recording, but you can flick through a book and find it if you know roughly where it was.
Yeah.
I really like that. I like to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that, because I haven't always been into books really, but I think since I have been, firstly, I've been able to improve a bit. Secondly, I've been able to improve what I offer other people.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I think is really important.
Yeah.
I'm one of these people that, so when I did my strengths, one of my top 5 is something called maximizer. And what maximizer is, it's about making the best of something. So I always want to make the best of a situation.
Yes.
So if it's a coaching situation or a training situation, I always want to look and say, well, how can I make that better?
Yeah.
Now, that might, for a lot of people, be a challenge, but for some people it wouldn't be. And sometimes it might be the right thing to do. Sometimes it might not, because sometimes you go off piste a bit.
Yeah.
On a training course. But if you think it adds something, it usually does. So that's why I've done that.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time and your enlightenment. I like the way that you are focusing on constantly new challenges, and I like the story you told with regards to going to America, learning something totally new, and sort of doing training via satellite 24 years ago, and here we are now doing it again. Using Zoom. It was interesting.
Thanks for inviting me on, by the way.
Well, that's a pleasure. I haven't finished the summary yet. I love the challenges bit, and the new ventures, and also what you sort of said about your confidence, because that is a friend of mine's just been offered a VP role in a very, very large organisation, and he says, I've got imposter syndrome. I says, well, everyone has it. And it is amazing how confidence comes up in so many coaching conversations, and it is about and also admitting to ourselves, we all suffer from it. If anybody wants to get in contact with Mark about the Gallup Strengths, we'll put Mark's details in the bottom of the YouTube description, so you can contact him there, and also contact him on LinkedIn, and he'll put his details there. And I really do like the way that you've sort of embarked on this 1-year program for yourself in development, and I think that really shows that you've got great self-awareness and realizing, like we all hopefully do, we can't do it all on our own. We do need assistance and help. So thank you very much, and thanks for your time.
Thanks,
and I look forward to speaking to you soon.
You.
Yeah. Okay. Cheers.
See ya. Bye now.